On today's episode, we are looking at the finances of a 37-year-old lady. She works as a call center agent and has 3 kids. She says she wants to get medical aid and buy a car and is looking for a way to incorporate that in her current finances. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itimeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant, and on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. Now let us see the finances of our sister, starting with her monthly income. Her net salary is 25,000 rands. From this month end, the net salary is going to be 27,200 rands. I intentionally just left it at 25,000 rands so that we can find a way to put the 2,200 rands increase into good use, because sometimes with annual salary increases, if you just immediately dump it into your current finances and not tell it where to go, it will go wherever it wants. And then we end up saying, I don't even see this increase. This increase is not doing anything for me. I'm pretty sure it's going somewhere. It's going to extra Ubers you don't need. It's going to extra clothes, extra takeouts, and ultimately you end up not seeing where it's going. So for our sister, this 2,200 rands, if possible, just start with a debit order and direct it towards a savings goal, an emergency fund, investment targets, and then by the end of the year, you can really say, this was my salary increase and this is how it has helped me. Maintenance, child 1, 2,500 rands. She has 3 kids, like I said, child 1, child 2, and child 3 is what we are going to call them. Child 1 stays with his grandmother and has a different father from child 2 and child 3. Child 2 and child 3 stay with their father. That is why we only have maintenance for child 1 alone. So our sister does not stay with any of the 3 kids. In total, her monthly income is 27,500 rands. Of course, we do note that there's an extra 2,200 rands that we are just going to automatically put towards savings, investments, and other goals so that we can really put it to good use. Now let us look at her savings and investments as well as debt balances. Savings 0,000. When last? When last did we see our old friend 0,000? So that 2,200 rands annual increase could not have come at a better time, because we don't have an emergency fund, we don't have anything here. So that 2,200 rands, the debit order, can just automatically go towards building an emergency fund, and then the rest of our finances can just continue as they were, except that this time we actually have automatic savings going off every single month. And then debt, she has a credit card balance of 6,000 rands, and then PEP 2,700 rands. The PEP is for a phone. She said at least it's not an iPhone. Any phone that is on credit is a pandemic. In total, her debt is 8,700 rands. Not a terrible amount of debt, not a bad amount of debt at all. Now let us look at her monthly expenses. Her rent is 2,600 rands. Electricity 300 rands. Retirement annuity 1,500 rands. She says the retirement annuity she just started. For a lot of people, they open emergency funds ahead of the consultation. For our sister here, she was like, for me, it's an RA. So good for her. We welcome it. Even an RA, we welcome. Groceries for her, 1,000 rands. Groceries for child 1, 1,000 rands. Groceries for child 2 and child 3, 1,000 rands. It's her favorite number. 1,000, 1,000 each. Like I said, child 1 is with the grandmother. Child 2 and 3 are with their father. So she sends money for groceries for all the kids. School fees, child 1, 500 rands. School fees, child 2, 3,000 rands. That is a big difference in school fees. Child 1 is older, but Child 1 school fees is only 500 rands, and child 2 school fees is 3,000 rands. Child 3 has some sort of a scholarship. She says they don't pay anything towards child 3, but it's also because child 1 is in the village with his grandmother, and then child 2 lives with his dad in a nice area. So that difference in school fees is also because of the difference in the areas that the kids live in. Edu policy for child 1, 500 rands. This is the only education policy, and it is for child 1, of course, because child 2 and 3, they live with their dad. Their dad has a whole education funds and other things going on for them. So it's really good that she got started on an education policy for child 1, which is also pretty new, but she knew we were going to ask for justice for child 1. So we love it for child 1 that we have gotten started on some sort of an education fund. However, as you can probably tell, there is a bit of a gap in the lifestyles of the kids, and that's mainly because they have different fathers, and their fathers don't have the same financial capacity. Child 2 and 3 are living a soft life, a little bit different from child 1, and it's one of the things that concerned our sister, the gap in the lifestyle of the kids, and that is why she also wants medical aid for her and child 1. Child 2 and 3, of course, you guessed, they already have medical aid. They are on their father's medical aid. So child 1, our sister is looking to get medical aid for child 1, and she says she already got a code. The medical aid is going to be 3,000 rands. So we will include the medical aid for child 1 as well as our sister towards the end, but that is not enough. Yes, we will get medical aid, which is extremely important. I love that we have an education plan already happening, but an extra thing that we can add for child 1 to also try, to level up that gap. I know it's not possible to completely give child 1 the life that child 2 and 3 have, but we can try. And our best shot at this point is a TFSA for child 1. Child 2 and 3 are going to get flashy cars and inheritances and other things, and child 1 will have a TFSA that will try to max out. Even if we don't max out, honestly, a little goes a long way with TFSAs, especially for a child, because they have all those years on the market. So a TFSA for child 1 will be that head start for him, will be that wealth tool for him, will be an inheritance for child 1. And like I said, it will not be the same for child 2 and 3, what child 2 and 3 will probably get. But as child 1 grows, I'm sure he'll appreciate the effort that his mother put to try to get him his own start in life. And we simply cannot act like we don't see this gap. It's something that we need to acknowledge and take extra steps to correct however we can, to the best of our ability. When she spoke about getting medical aid for child 1, she gave a really sad analogy. She said, for example, if all the kids were involved in an accident, a Netcare ambulance would quickly come get child 2 and 3, and then child 1 would just be lying there waiting for a government ambulance. And I thought that was really sad, but we are going to make sure that that does not happen, at least with getting the medical aid, and then also continue building the education fund, as well as get started a little bit on a TFSA. Life cover, 270 rands. Funeral cover, 260 rands. DSTV for granny, 150 rands. PEP, 400 rands for that pandemic. Data and airtime, 600 rands. Transport to work, 800 rands. Uber, 600 rands. So there's transport to work, and then there's Uber. I said, where are you going with the Uber? Because you have transport to work, and then you go away with the Uber. She says, no, although I don't stay with any of the kids, I'm a hands-on mother. She says the Uber is to collect the kids on weekends when it's her turn. And she said, even today after our consultation, I have to go fetch them because they have a maths homework and their father is not really good with maths. So that is what the Uber is for. Okay, the father is not good with maths. So when he has to do homeworks, you have to go collect the kids. I think it's only fair that he pays for the Ubers for their homework days. You can pay for Uber for weekends for when you have to collect them and take them back. But for the maths homeworks, the father needs to pay. There's a price to pay for not knowing maths. And then we can save a little 200 rands there and put it towards the TFSA for child one or their education fund. You know, we are fixing the country. Takeaways, 1,200 rands. She says the takeaways are mainly for when the kids are here and she just wants to bond with them and not necessarily cook. This is a lot of takeaways for child 2 and child 3. And remember, child 1 is somewhere not having a takeaways allowance. So to fix the country, no one eats takeaways. I'm sure child 2 and 3 have plenty of takeaways in their father's house. So we can just cut takeaways in half, put 600 rands for takeaways. That leaves us with a saving of 600 rands. You already know where we are going to take it. We are going to put it towards child one's TFSA because that is his share of the takeaways, right? Child 1 better pay me for this work. Credit card, 10,000 rands. Your balance on the credit card was 6,000 rands. Why are you paying so much? She said, no, I pay 10,000 rands into the credit card every single month, and then it pays the balance, and then I start using the rest of the money as an emergency fund. Every single month, you put 10,000 into the credit card, and then whatever is left over is your emergency fund. Every single month, you run your emergency fund, this apparent emergency fund that's in the credit card. She said, yes, that's how I do it because they say that really helps with a credit score. Do you have an actual emergency fund? No, ma'am. Okay, and then you are just losing so much money every single month because with that balance, if she just paid her minimum payments on time consistently, that helps with a credit score. But this thing of putting money into the credit card and then using it as an emergency fund and incurring charges, incurring interest, and never really knowing how to save your own money will not fly. So going forward, just make minimum payments on your credit card. And if you want an emergency fund, you build one. Remember, we already have that 2,200 annual increase that is going to be starting our emergency fund. So we stop whatever we are doing with this credit card because other than this thing of saying it increases credit score, it's not saving you in any way. You continue to be broke, but you have a whole 10,000 rands to blow on the credit card. Helper comes once a week and that is 1,400 rands a month. I said, oh, so this helper comes around when the kids are visiting, when it's your turn with the kids on weekends. She says, no, the helper just comes during the week when I'm alone and she does my laundry and cleans for me. And then on weekends when you're with the kids, she says, no, I manage perfectly with the kids. I do their laundry, I clean after them, I cook when I can, or I buy takeouts. Okay, so what is the helper helping you with again? She said, oh, the helper would make sense if the helper was helping me with the kids. But she just comes during the week when it's really quiet, when I don't really need her, ma'am. She's realizing. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let the helper come on weekends to actually help? Or are you going to continue to let her come during the week? She says, no, I think I'm just going to let the helper go altogether. I'm really sorry to the helper, it was not me. It was not me that got you fired. But to be fair, if she's not using the helper during the weekends when she's with the kids, if she can manage that, I'm sure whatever is going on during the week, she can manage. And to be fair, we need some money here. Child one has a TFSA to max out. So this 1,400 rands, all of it goes towards child one's TFSA. Why not? So child one is starting to be balanced with the rest of the kids. And now we can look at our sister's concerns. Our sister wants a medical aid, is 3,000 rands, and she also wants a car. For a car, we are looking at around 10,000 rands, including insurance, including petrol and tracker. So that is an additional 13,000 rands that she wants to include here. We already have that big 10,000 rands from the credit card. So if she just continues to make minimum payments on the credit card, let's say maybe 1,000 rands towards the credit card every single month, and then the 9,000 rands we take back, and then you take 3,000 from that, you pay medical aid, you are left with 6,000 rands. Apart from the 6,000 rands, remember we have an emergency fund getting built in the background with the 2,200 rands increase. We have 600 rands that we got from takeaways, 1,400 rands that we got from firing our lovely helper, and then that the takeaways as well as the helper money, that is 2,000 rands, that's going to go towards Child One's TFSA, and then we have an emergency fund getting built, and then we have an RA as well. Then we are left with 6,000 rands. That 6,000 rands currently cannot be able to pay for the car, so the car will have to wait while we clean up a little bit. With the 6,000 rands that we have left, let's start with PEP. Pay off PEP. Paying off PEP is going to free up an additional 400 rands every single month. You can leave the credit card for that little old credit record for when you get the car, but no more of this giving 10,000 rands for the credit card to drink up. And then the remaining 3,000 or so after settling PEP, you can put it towards the emergency fund on top of the 2,200 rands. Then going forward, we are going to have 6,400 rands, including the amount of money that was going towards PEP. Take 400 rands, put it extra towards the emergency fund on top of that 2,200 rands. And then with the 6,000, split it towards starting your own TFSA and building a car fund. By the time this car comes, we must have a deposit, a very growing emergency fund, a TFSA for Child One, a TFSA for you. Even if the TFSAs are not maxed out, we need to have investments that are growing. We need to have an emergency fund that is fully funded or almost. Then we can find a way to, incorporate the car in a year or two. Just enjoy being an Uber girl, using transport to work. I know sometimes that can look like it's such a struggle, but have you seen the price of petrol? That is depressing. So just really try to enjoy this transport cost while it lasts, because once you're on the other side, it can really be a struggle. But we will get the car eventually, but it's not a rush. The only thing that we are going to rush here is that medical aid, because what you explained, we don't want for Child One. And yeah, I think we fixed the country. Child One is going to get medical aid. He's going to get a share of the takeaways going towards his TFSA. And then our sister will get started on building a car fund. Eventually, when the time is right and she eventually gets the car, she can put the money from the car fund towards a deposit. That will really help reduce her interest as well as monthly installments. And then everybody wins. So I hope you found value in this episode. Please let me know your thoughts on our sister's finances in the comments. Please like this video. It really helps my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a rich day.